I don't think they'll pick right off. Look, the Lakers were playing great basketball all year. Remember, they started 24-3. Other than this little 4-game losing streak in the middle of the season, they were playing tremendous basketball the whole way through. I have no doubts about LeBron James. He looked like a slimmer Kimbo Slice in those pictures. But no problem, no questions about LeBron. I bet physically and mentally he is in as good a shape as anybody in the league and maybe in the best shape. So he'll be fine. The questions are other players. Avery Bradley is wildly important to this team because of his perimeter defense and his three-point shooting. And Dwight Howard, we know what he brought to them off the bench. Where are they at mentally? Where are their minds at? I'm sure they'll play, but are they focused? Will they be ready? And then Kyle Kuzma. Kyle Kuzma has always been, the whole season, it was like, can we get Kuz to accept his role? Can we get Kuz to understand playing winning basketball? 4 months away is not going to necessarily help that. So where is Kuzma when he comes back mentally? Because look, LeBron and AD, 1 and 2, nobody in the league can beat that. But when I look at the Clippers and some other teams, it's their depth that they may have that could give the Lakers some issues. So what's the Lakers' depth going to look at like? That's really the only question.
Nick, I'm a little bit worried as you're the resident Lakers fan on the panel. I'd be a little bit worried about the Lakers gauntlet that they could be facing here. If we could throw it up, look, I think the Trailblazers are going to sneak into that 8th spot. So then you got Damian Lillard and CJ to deal with. Then I think the Jazz are going to fall. The Rockets are going to rise. Now you got James Harden. There could even be like seed manipulation with the Rockets saying like, boom, let's push. Let's get right to the Lakers. Let's try to get them right out of the bat. And then you got Kawhi and Paul George. So I think the reward for the number 1 seed is actually a pretty daunting gauntlet.
So listen, that would be what you have laid out there. That would be the toughest possible path, and I totally get that. It's also, though, in play that in the first round they have the Grizzlies, in the second round they have the Thunder, and in the third round they have the Nuggets. Everyone's just assuming the Clippers are going to get there. I need to see it to believe it. But even if the Clippers do get there, they could be facing the Rockets in round 2. They also could be facing, as you mentioned, Utah, Oklahoma City. We'll see how that shakes out. They can't control that. But here's what they can control. They have the single best leader in the entire sport in LeBron, and they have a very veteran team. Both of those things, in my mind, position them as well as a team can be positioned for this unprecedented circumstance. They also, unlike Broussard's beloved favorite team from childhood, it would appear, Los Angeles Clippers, they didn't make massive changes at the deadline. They know exactly who their team is. Markieff Morris is the only real buyout addition they made as far as someone that's going to play rotational minutes. Aside from that, they know exactly what they're doing. And because unlike the Clippers or the Rockets or any other team in the West that could be jostling for seeding, the Lakers, Broussard, are going to be the 1 seed no matter what. So that means they can treat these 8 games in a different way than any of these other teams can. They can just basically use them as tune-ups for the postseason because they don't have to worry about falling into a position where it's like, oh man, we don't want to play Houston in round 1, or we don't want to play the Clippers in round 1, whatever it is. So for all those reasons, I feel they are as well positioned as a team can be. You, meanwhile, look like you just bit into a bad peach. So what happened there?
The Clippers fear no one, Nick. All right, they're not jostling for position. They're not worried about that. When they come, look, there's probably going to be some load management for the Clippers, believe it or not. All right, because you're playing every other day, and that's when the knee, could bother Kawhi. We'll see, but I wouldn't be surprised to see that. What they're going to be doing is trying to make sure, like you said, they made some additions. Reggie Jackson is even in the rotation as they get into the playoffs, but they'll work him in, see how he can play. And, of course, Marcus Morris, get him accustomed to his role. Not so much worried about Joakim Noah. Here's the key, because I still think it boils down to the Lakers and the Clippers. Will LeBron be able to be fully aggressive? The first 2 games when they lost to the Clippers, he wasn't really aggressive. I was baffled by that. But what it was is that the Clippers' perimeter defense, they could throw Kawhi, Paul George, Montrezl Harrell, now Marcus Morris, and it can help. And they were able to keep LeBron from constantly driving into the paint. That was a problem for the Lakers in the fourth quarters of the first two games. He totally solved that in the third game. And if LeBron can't live at the rim in the fourth quarter against the Clippers, Anthony Davis is going to have to step up. He was doing it toward the end of what was the season, getting better in the fourth. But for the most part, he was not the fourth quarter killer that they needed. He was averaging like 3 points most of the season in the fourth quarter. They're going to need more than that.
All right, let's put the Lakers aside for a second and talk some tampering. With Ethan Strauss, the columnist from The Athletic, saying, quote, one NBA staffer told me, oh, it will be Tamper-palooza in Orlando, that's for sure. Similar to how players plotted future alliances during Olympic and FIBA tournament runs, expect a dynasty or two to be concocted down in Orlando. Back to you, Broussard. What do you make of that?
Well, it's interesting. Look, it won't be immediate. I mean, the top four teams with cap space, and we'll see what that looks like in, with this pandemic. But the top four teams with cap space aren't even in Orlando: Atlanta, New York, Detroit, Charlotte. So you're really looking at the future. Look at Miami. That's the team I'd be concerned about. Obviously, you've got the great city in Miami. You've got the great history with the championships. You got the championship coach in Eric Spoelstra. And it's a team that with one additional star could really take the next level and be a real legitimate contender. That's the team I'd watch for. As far as the young teams, the young guys don't really want to team up yet. They're concerned with making themselves superstars, establishing themselves as stars, getting their max deals. And they also think at this point they can do it on their own. It's usually 7 years in or so when guys start realizing, okay, I need to team up with a star. And that's when the tampering comes in.
That's interesting, Broussard. I didn't think about that. That right now everyone's like, well, maybe guys will come to where I am versus like, oh, it looks like I'm going to have to hit the road. I think tampering rules in general for the front office are an absolute farce, and everybody knows it. I've got two quotes here. The first one, Magic famously got hit for talking about Paul George on Kimmel, and then he had this one talking about Giannis. He's going to be an MVP, a champion. The dude, he's going to put Milwaukee on the map, and I think he's going to bring them a championship one day. Boom, got hit $50K. Then you can get hit for tampering with your own team. The Bucks GM got fined $50,000 for a fan Q&A where he says, I can't negotiate anything. Giannis basically a year from now will be eligible for a Supermax. And at that time, of course, he will be offered a Supermax, which everybody on the entire planet knew. Still, the NBA came down and said, no, Bucks, you're going to be fined $50K for tampering with your own franchise player, which is just mind-boggling. So look, on the player side, it's not even tampering. It's just we're going to see personal relationships form inside of Orlando that we normally wouldn't. And you see Durant go. Oh, first of all, Nick, your Heatles, that was based off of the Olympics. Durant going to Warriors based off of the Olympics. And then when Durant and Kyrie and DeAndre Jordan hooked up, that was also based off a relationship in the Olympics. So I do expect something to happen. I think it'll be interesting. But overall, tampering is just a load of hogwash.
So, Wilds, all of that was, I think, brilliantly executed with one small exception. I think Durant going to the Warriors was not based off the Olympics. I think it was based off a sobbing Draymond Green calling him right after LeBron had snatched his soul in the finals and begging him to come. But I might have my history a little wrong there. Maybe they set the template for it in the Olympics. I don't quite remember exactly how that went, but I do think something like that happened. All right, listen, this is all about Giannis. And I think Broussard got it exactly right as far as the Miami Heat and their pursuit of Giannis. And while I don't know how they could plausibly make it happen, the Lakers signed his brother for a reason. And I'm sure if you're John Horst, if the Milwaukee Bucks, you would rather be staying at the yacht club than at Grand Destino, because you look at who else is at Grand Destino and you're like, oh, Miami and the Lakers. That's kind of a bummer. I think they'd rather have Giannis staying at the Ramada Inn than at the Grand Destino, where those guys can be in his ear. And so I think Miami is the under-the-radar play if Giannis is to leave. Now, I don't want him to leave. I think he's going to stay. I think the Bucks are going to make the finals, losing a tough 6 to the Lakers, and he'll end up signing an extension. but Broussard. I do think Pat Riley in Miami are a specter that kind of looms over the entire, potential Giannis sweepstakes.
Yeah, there's no question. And the team that people feel are missing out is Golden State. But here's the issue. I don't think they're missing out because they don't have money. We've talked about this before. How in the world could they get the money to get Giannis? They're going to have to trade Clay if they would, I think, to get Giannis. Oh. And I don't know that that's happening. So I don't think Golden State loses out on this because they don't have any cap room.
I'm glad you've seen. I thought you were going to say they could trade Wiggins 1-for-1. Sorry, Jenna. With how much Broussard loves Wiggins these days, I thought he was going to say Golden State misses out. Everyone sees Wiggins.
As a fourth option.
Just Giannis 1-for-1 straight up.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.